G'day guys, Beach to Bush here. Bit of a different one. We're in the backyard. We are meant to be on a sand island right now. I'm going to be doing a review on the boat today, but got to the boat ramp and realised my starter battery that trims and starts my engine is dropped 3 cells. It's down at 6 volts, so look, that's not happening today. So we're in the backyard. We've got a bit of nice weather today, but it's meant to be trash for the next couple of weeks, so I kind of wanted to get this video done in some nice weather, so I went, we're going to have to do it in the backyard, I guess. Anyway, I'm going to be running you guys through the boat that I've been using for the last year. It's called Ellie, short for electrolysis, because it has a little bit of electrolysis here and there. But all in all, it's a great boat. It's a 485 Savage Scorpion converted to a center console from a half cab. I'm going to be running you guys through what I've done to the boat in the last year or so. All in all, it's a pretty good hull. Like, it is an older design. Some of, like I said, the electrolysis you can see up and near the hull, and a lot of the fixings I've tried to fix it with Tefgal as best as I can, but the previous owner didn't really care, so the paint's really starting to chip from some of those electrolysis problems. Basically stopped it now, but yeah, it's a nice hull. I can't complain. It's got me to some absolutely awesome spots, and I bought it for this whole thing for 16 grand. It's got me to some awesome places. I've done Fraser Island, I've done overnight trips to Broughton Island, I've done 2 of them now. And it's taken me super far offshore. I've pushed in some pretty hectic conditions, and I've never had a problem with it, never cracked it, never had any water leak into it. I left it in the water for 5 days at Fraser Island, and it was a weapon of a boat. I loved it. Now, all in all, pretty good hull. The dead rise is not super aggressive. I don't know if you'll be able to see that. It's not nothing by any means. It still rides pretty well in some pretty decent swell, and I've punched it in some pretty ugly swell. I'll put some clips up throughout this video of different things I'm talking about, but yeah, I've had this out in some decent swell, that's for sure. Coming down the back, it's a pod design for the outboard, so these are just steps, but the outboard or the transom is a pod design. It's got a 60 horsepower 4-stroke Yamaha. It's got about 950 hours on it. I actually just did a service on it. It's got a 4-blade prop on it. It gets about 2.3 to 2.5 kilometers per litre, and I can extend that if I come off the throttle a little bit. Obviously, it gets worse if you go a bit harder. It's got a hydrofoil on it. I think it's the BCF generic one. It's sized correctly for the outboard. For the size of a boat compared to the outboard, it definitely needs it. It's definitely a smaller engine for a bigger hull, and I usually pack way too much gear into the boat, so it usually is pretty heavy. But saying that, it still gets me up and playing. I still get about 20 knots out of it, full throttle, maybe 23 on a glass out, and I've never had any problems with it. I've done some massive trips in it, like up at Fraser and out to Broughton Island, done some big Ks, trolling, and yeah, she's never let me down, even with all the hours on her. I look after her though. I service it constantly, grease everything constantly. You know, it's a thing you're relying on. Well, the battery did die today, so that's a bit awkward, but I've never had problems with the engine apart from fuel cutting out, but I'll go into that when I go through the boat. So I guess we'll start front to back. On the front, I got a bow mount alley plate welded on, just from a local guy. He actually did a really good job. I don't know if you can see those welds. He stacked dimes, and he didn't burn majority of the paint. It all looks really good, and it's held up pretty good. I had a 12 volt Watersnake on it for, I don't even know, probably a year now. I've only just recently in the last month upgraded to a 24 volt one, and that's been a game changer, especially for this big hull. Got away with the 12 volt one for forever. I just wanted a bit more pulling power and some of that bad swell that I tend to put shit and fish in, especially on those windy days. Like, I don't know, I don't go home, I just push it. I'm like, I'll catch a fish in this, and yeah, the 24 volt has been an absolute game changer for that. Then the anchor well, it's just an old fiberglass one. It's cracked a little bit here and there. It's got a bit of damage. But yeah, I've got a rope tied to the T-piece there. That's just for launching and tying it off to jetties and stuff. The electric motor comes in through here as well, just on an Edison plug, and same with the GPS puck that comes through here. I've got 2 anchors in here, just a plastic one for like a bow anchor, and your normal just 2 sort of wing style sand anchor. It's been on a right anchor, but I would upgrade to one that pivots left and right, because I have pulled it a couple times, especially at Broughton Island when I did an overnight camping trip. I pulled it and smashed up the transducer back a little bit, fixed it all, but yeah, sort of annoyed at that. But you know, all in all, it's held me on reef. I can't complain. It came with the boat. Coming back, I do have a bit of area up the front to fish. It's not a raised platform, it's just the same level the whole way through the boat. I keep my safety bag under here. It's just a BCF bag. It's got everything in it: flares, EPA, handheld radio, everything you need safety wise. A couple of little things in there just for the boat. I just keep it in this bag, so if I use it in this boat, I use it in this boat. If I go out on a mate's boat, I bring this if he doesn't have all the gear. It's just easy to grab, especially if something went bad. I can just grab it by the handle and just go. You know, if the boat started to sink or whatever, or I'm on an island and the boat is floating off, I can just grab this. I don't know. It's just good. All in one. I can tuck it out of the way. It goes up the front. There's just some towels and stuff because I was planning, like I said, to go out today, but yeah, that got ruined. Making our way back a little bit further, I got a Railblazer mount to support the head. It broke all of like a week ago, sadly, so yeah, can't really show it in action. I can show you little bits of clips here and there where I can see it on camera, but usually just supports the motor head from bouncing, especially when you do some bigger Ks up and down the coast. You don't want this going like that, and that's putting all that force in the mechanism of the electric motor, the launch mechanism. Don't want that. So yeah, that just supports that, keeps it all level with each other, no sort of play in it. I also keep a little bit of Velcro just on the cable, connected it to the shaft, just to stop the cable smashing up against the hull, because without that there, it sits pretty low and it just smashes the whole time, and you'll probably eventually wear through this outer sheathing, and that's going to allow water into there and corrode all your cables. So just a little bit of care and love for the motor doing that, and that there, yeah, just keeps it all nice and happy. Now, coming to the center console, you got these two bars here. That's for your T-top. I don't have it on now because I don't usually have it on. It's good on bigger trips, like Fraser Island I had it on, but when you're casting and stuff, like, it sits sort of up here and it sits pretty far back to obviously cover the seat and the center area of the boat, and so you smack it all the time. I've smacked some rods on it pretty hard. Haven't broken a rod yet, but yeah, I don't always put it on, except if I'm doing a really long trip up north, like Fraser Island, where I need that sun protection. It was good then, and I was trolling. I wasn't casting very often then, so it didn't really bother me. But yeah, usually leave that off. On it, it does have a solar panel on the top, an anchor light, and like a little tiny light bar that shines light down into here. It is pretty handy having that there, but doesn't outweigh the problem of hitting with the rod, so I don't usually run it. Now, coming further back, we got a hatch, and this used to be just completely empty. But like I said, recently I've upgraded to a 24 volt lithium system, so I've got all my wiring in here. I'll try and get a better shot with some light in here. That's where my 2 lithium batteries are, up in this area. Just all my fuse blocks are back there. Everything is accessible, but that's how I've done it. I've just got a isolator that isolates the 24 volt system, and then I've got an isolator separately for the electric motor. Well, it's a circuit breaker as well, just an overload circuit breaker. If anything ever went wrong, it'll trip out. It's a 60 amp version, because it pulls about 50 amps at full tilt. But yeah, that's all that's in here, just my electrical area. I'll see if I can show you a little bit more. You can see my fuse, well, my back of my switch panel there. My fuse panel is just behind the batteries, so if you ever had to get to a fuse, it probably would be a little bit annoying. So it's sort of a trade-off. The batteries aren't in the bottom. I'll show you that in a sec. So you get more room down the bottom, so may as well use this. A bit more awkward, it's very cramped in here with 2 120 amp hour lithium King batteries. All in all, not that bad. Good use of space for electrical equipment. Making our way back to the helm. Usually have a sounder here. It's an FS9 Lowrance. Love the thing. It's got a NEMA 2K backbone that lets me get a readout from the engine, and also I've got a little fuel device that I can set up how much fuel my fuel tank has, and it monitors how much fuel the engine's using, and then gives me how much is remaining to the dot. Like, it is super accurate. I love the thing. I'll put it up on screen exactly what it is. So if you've got a NEMA backbone, definitely such a good upgrade. You know exactly how much fuel you've got, and it's super easy to add more fuel. If you're adding jerry cans, you just refuel 20 litres, go, it's done. For the sounder, I'm just running the 3-in-1 that comes with it. Nothing fancy, no airman stuff. I like to in the future, but I've got away with it for now. And I've got other things I want to spend money on. Always with boats, it's bringing out another 1,000. So yeah, that's not quite what I'm going to spend money on yet. Now the bracket itself is just on a custom, I just cut up a bit of alley and painted it black, and then it's on a big ram mount that allows me to tilt this up, tilt it left, tilt it right, depending on if I'm fishing this side or fishing this side. Just allows me to maneuver it around here instead of it just bolting straight to this, and then it's just all it's got is that tilt there. Allows me to go left and right a little bit. Got a VHF here. She's a bit old. She's seen some sun. It's just a GME marine VHF. Still works. And I've got my aerial that goes in here. I just store it just down here. It's a big offshore aerial. Just goes straight in there. Use it all the time to listen to the game boats fishing, especially when marlin season's around. You get some little handy tips of where they are, and you can go over to them and catch the marlin they're trying to catch. In theory, haven't done it yet. Just a pair of fish grips or lip grips. They just go there. Perfect spot for them. On the side, either side, 3 rod holders. Really cool setup for rod storage, but it's a pain to get past. I don't know if you can see this, but like I can just put my both feet there, and when there's rods here, you're catching the hooks and everything that's here. If you're going past the clothing, quite often it's catches, especially like as a beaky rig, you're going to catch it. It's super annoying. So I would have pulled the center console back, but I haven't really played around with the layout of this boat. I've just used it how it is. Coming down, I've got my 6 switches here. They do all different things. Your sound system, your live bait tank, your live bait light, nav lights, all that sort of stuff. Just got a Fusion sound system with a speaker on either side of the center console. Punches out a bit of sound. I don't usually use it because I'm filming, and you don't want to be filming music because you get copyrighted. But when I'm not filming and when I'm just sitting around, it actually pumps out a pretty decent amount of sound, so can't complain there. My isolator for my 12 volt system, because it's a 24 volt system, I've got a converter to go down to 12 volt. This is just my isolator to then power up everything in the boat that runs off 12 volt. Got 2 little fabric cup holders here. Honestly, they're too tight for really anything, so I just throw random bits and pieces in them. Usually I throw, like there you go, all my fishing lures that I have used, I'll throw them in there because they've got mesh bottoms in the bottom of them. So you just spray water in them and drains all the salt water off your gear. Coming down into the hatches. This is where the batteries used to sit. I used to have just the 1 lithium battery there when it was a 12 volt system. But yeah, you can see why I put those 2 batteries up the top, because there'd be 1 battery here, 1 battery here, you'd have no room. And I usually pack a bunch of fishing gear, lunchbox and everything into here. So this is, you can see there's a bunch of random stuff in here currently. That's my starting battery. That's the one that's died. It's now at 6 volts, so that's going to have to be replaced. Up here, you'll see that's all my 12 volt gear. I've got me this is my 24 to 12 converter. That's a MPPT solar charger. I do have a shunt on here as well, and just a little bus bar and a fuse panel for all the 24 volt gear. It is a bit cramped in here. There's a lot happening, but it all works, and I can't really make more room here and less room there. I've just got to work with the room I have. So all in all, it's not a little bad system. Now, because I'm offshore by myself so often, and quite often very far from the shore, where no other boats are, I do have a kill switch that's tied to a rope that then has a loop on the end. I'll show you how this works. Now, don't mind the Crocs and socks. It's winter, and Crocs are comfy as. Don't diss them. This is how it works. It just is a loop that then I pass the rope through. It's got a cable tie on there to stop the loop coming further undone and slipping off my foot. Yeah, it just tightens around my ankle, and that goes back to the kill switch. And if I fall out of the boat, kill switch comes off undone. Hopefully it doesn't wrap around anything, so I try and not to twist it around this center seat and post. Otherwise, when you fall out of the boat, it'd be like taut around that. So I try to pay attention to what I'm doing. But if that way I fall out of the boat, it will turn off the engine, and I'll be safe. I can swim back to the boat. Never had to use it, thankfully, but for one up, it's a great like $2 system. It costs you all of a bit of rope, and I'm sure people have ropes hanging around. But if you don't, yeah, it's like $2 worth of rope and a carabiner. Definitely a great idea to keep you safe offshore. Now, the seat, it's just a blue seat. I think it's an Ocean South high back. Actually, yes, it is Ocean South high back. Folds down. No latch that holds it down or up, so it does fold down in the waves and swell a bit sometimes. A bit annoying, but it is a super comfy seat. It's high back. This is, it's the higher Ocean South tackle storage module. So when I sit in it, my feet are off the ground, but I'm at the right height for the helm. And I usually just put my feet up here or something like that. Or I put a tackle box or something here just to support my feet, because it takes the weight off the bottom of your thighs, especially when you're doing those long trolling days. Like, that really starts to kill, so you just want something to support and prop your legs up. Underneath the seat, I've got a adjustable forward and backwards and 45-degree swivel seat. Just locks out in different locations. This one pushes the seat back. There's another handle on the other side that allows you to swivel the seat, and then it locks out in 45 degrees, so you can be straight out the side of the boat or straight here, full 360. It just allows you to lock the seat. So if you want to sort of fish and not have the boat seat constantly swiveling, locks in. I like it a bit better than the full just 360 concealing seat mechanisms. I like to lock them out and sit in a certain direction, just a bit more comfy, especially in that big swell. Now what the seat is sitting on is a Ocean South, like it's basically a tackle box almost, post, instead of like just your aluminum post. This allows you to store quite a bit of tackle in here. So you open this up, it's waterproof, it's got a good seal around it, and I've just got different bits and pieces in here. Basically all the lures that I use frequently I put in here, that I always want on my boat. Put all my lead down the bottom just to keep a bit of weight in the bottom. And with this, I've mounted it just straight to the timber. I think you should probably mount it to your alloy beams underneath your boat just for a bit more stability, but I've used some pretty big gauged wood screws, and they're pretty long, so like it's not really going anywhere. But in maybe a year or two's time, once those screws start to give a bit of play and you hit a big bit of swell sitting on it, you might pull a screw out or two, but look, I haven't had no problems with it, so I'm not going to change it out. That's how it is, can't complain. Now on either side of the seats, I've got these little tackle storage under boat things. I guess you'd call them a hatch. They're very rudimentary. They're just a bit of wood with 2 holes drilled in them. I've got that caravanning foam matting that you can connect up to each other with the holes in it, so any water or sand just sort of flushes down through the hole and out of the bungs. But what it does allow you to do is put more fishing tackle in here. I'm one of the people who just brings way too much fishing tackle. Anything that I think I'm going to use, I bring, so I just absolutely load it up with tackle trays in here, different bits and pieces, but yeah, usually tackle in this side. And on this side, this is like spare parts. So I've got a toolbox, a jerry can funnel that isn't universal, but any jerry can that in an emergency I needed to use, I would be able to pour it down that and into the spout without spilling fuel all over the side of my boat. A dunny roll, I'm sure I don't have to explain that one, because I do a bit of remote trips. Brought another propeller that just sits in here, a bit of extra rope. I've also got a bit of extra rope, some WD-40, some 291 Sikaflex. Never used it, but it's good to have in here. I've got some gear oil. I was having problems with the washer on my leg, so I brought that. Since fixed, just needed a new washer. I actually tore the fabric washer a little bit, so it was leaking just slightly, so I was topping it up every now and then with that. Got some cable ties down the bottom, and I keep a squid jig in here, because quite often you'll be vibing or something, or bait fishing, you'll have squid next to the boat, so I always leave this in here and I just throw it out the side. And it's really good to always have a squid jig on board. Yeah, you can hook them on vibes and on your lures, but I just like going, oh yeah, squid, throw this out and you catch a squid. Now making our way back, same idea. I've got a big long kill tank storage. I don't use it as a kill tank, I use it more as like snorkeling gear and anything that gets wet, because it's got this like almost like a rubber tar paint on it that doesn't allow any moisture to soak into the wood. Yeah, that's got that in there, so any wet gear goes in here. Always keep a bit of snorkeling gear. My teasers are back there as well, and most importantly, my parachute. I use that quite often when bait fishing to slow down the how fast I'm going in the wind. But yeah, like those 3 storage modules underneath the floor, they're not that bad. The floor's probably seen a bit better days, but look, I'm not going to replace it. It still all works, and I can actually store a lot of gear in between those 3 hatches if I'm doing a couple day trip. I don't mind it. Coming back, you might have noticed I've got this little hatch here. It's not more storage, I've got enough storage. No, it goes down to my bilge, and I can see underneath my hull, look forward and look back. In the hull I have a 1100 gallon per hour automatic sea flow pump that just hooks up and obviously goes out the side to a skin fitting. Great bilge pump, fully automatic. I can switch it on manual mode if I really wanted to, but I've just got it hooked up to the battery 24/7. I don't have it through a switch. For the automatic side of it, I just always have it going, so if I ever have water in the boat, I don't have to flick the switch on for the automatic to work. It's always on, and it bypasses the isolator, so even if it's isolated, it still works. It's separately fused, so it's all safe, but that way, if anything ever happened and the boat was isolated and the switch was off, it still works, completely independent of the boat's electrical system almost. Never had to use it though, so been pretty lucky. Especially with some of the swell I've punched it in. Now for my side pockets, they actually had like a little lip, probably like a 2-inch lip that came pretty far in, and you'd stop, like grabbing gear and putting big like Tupperware containers of tackle and all sorts of other stuff, and you'd always be fighting that lip. So anyway, I cut it off, as you can see, just with a jigsaw, and I'll put a little bit of conduit on it. All I do is just push it over that cut mark so you're not hitting your wrist and your fingers on it and cutting and bleeding yourself. But yeah, that's opened up these 2 side pockets majorly. Probably one of the best cheap modifications I've done. Just sort of on the ends, rounded it off, making it look nice. So yeah, that's freed up so much room, and I can put so much more gear, especially wider gear, in these side pockets. So if you're struggling with that, just cut it off and put a bit of conduit like that. I haven't glued it on. You could glue it on. I've just got it slapped there, but in many years time, it would sun fade and you'd have to pull it all off, so I've just left it. Like, you can kick it, okay, yeah, it comes off, but it's back on. Boom, easy fix. On the back, I've got 2 outwards facing rod holders. They just clamp on to this rail that goes all the way around the boat. Look, I wasn't a fan of the rail to start with. I was going to take it off, but it's actually so easy and so convenient grabbing the rail to jump in and out of the boat the whole way. You can hold it when you're going up the side of the boat, just as a bit of extra sturdy. Even to get in and out of the front of the boat, like I jump on the tyre and then jump in. So yeah, I actually haven't cut it off. I actually found to like it. I was going to put a couple more of those rod holders up the front here, so if you're fishing out the front you can put your other rod in here, but I haven't yet. I just use them mainly for trolling to get the rods further out, because these rod holders here are about a 30 to 45 degree out, whereas these are straight out, so they get your spread a lot nicer out the back of the boat. Now down the back of the boat, I've got a collapsible bucket. You can use it for anything. Yeah, just great. You can wash fish out in it. You can use it for a dishwasher. You can do anything with a collapsible bucket, and it takes up no room. On the other side, I've got my emergency fuel. You guys who have followed the channel for a little bit know this has saved me once when I went out for the first time in this boat, in fact, and I had a air leak in my fuel line and sucked air into my system and couldn't bleed it out because it was just constantly sucking air in. So I actually had to cut the fuel line and dump it straight into this, and I got home safely, all under my own power. Got the fuel line replaced. But yeah, this emergency is just a 10 litre of petrol. I know it's in a yellow can, but it is petrol. It has saved me once, and for that reason I will always have it on my boat. Just a little bit of extra fuel. With the digital fuel NEMA 2K system, I know exactly how much fuel I have, but if I have a problem with the main tank, I can't get fuel out from underneath the floor, so it's just a way that will save me if I ever do need to have a secondary fuel system. Now underneath here I have my fuel water separator. I think it also acts as a filter. Not as good as your filter in your engine, but it's just a pre-filter. Wouldn't have a boat without it. If you pull water into your injectors, basically stuffs the injectors. So yeah, great idea to always have. And I have pulled water out of fuel before. I pulled a lot of water out of one batch. It was from 7-Eleven, so like not dodgy fuel station. It's local as well, so in Newcastle. Had an insane amount of water. I was emptying that little bottom glass almost every 30-40 minutes. Yeah, and I was like, holy hell, there's a lot of water in this. So anyway, I've run that water out of the system, and now I've never had I've had drops here and there, but for the most part I've never actually had to use it, but it has saved me once. So yeah, would never have a boat without one. Now the other thing with these rod holders on the back, I've just got a bit of rope tied to the railing. goes to a stainless steel carabiner, and you would have seen in some of my videos if you've watched them, I just hook off my rods, that way they don't fall out when I'm trolling or with big fish. If they pull them awkwardly, or this thing fails, it's always tied to the railing, not to this thing. Just keeps my more expensive rods always in the boat. On the back here, I've got a Pro Wave bait board live bait tank combo. It's got the 4 rod holders up the back. Barely ever use them for rod holders. I actually use them for knives and lip grips, dehookers. I use it for gear almost. But I do use this chopping board a lot, as you can probably see. She's a bit stained, can't really get the stains out of it. That's how much I use it. And then in here, I've got my empty port. It had an empty port up the top, and I've actually brought it lower because I found that it was sloshing water out of the sides. Still does a little bit, but this way I have a lot of water in, so I can keep a lot of live bait. But it is lower, so it stops that sloshing a little bit. I just keep a sponge to clean up baits, and also just keep a little bait net that floats. I don't keep it in here when I've got it full of water. I actually put it down the bottom here. But yeah, you just put that bung in the bottom, fill it up with water, shoots out of here. It's a great little live bait tank, and the window is awesome. Being able to flick the light on at night and see all your fish swimming around, yeah, it's a pretty cool shot. Making our way to the back of the boat, I don't run lights on my trailer because I dunk this thing to get this boat off, and I don't drive it on. I'll go through that in a second, but I fully, almost basically up to just below the top of the wheel arch, I put this boat in the water just to make it easy to slide on and off, because some of the ramps around me are pretty flat, so you have to almost float the boat off the trailer or use a lot of reverse, and then churn up the boat ramp pretty hard, especially if there's a lot of people there, not very considerate. So I just put the boat in pretty deep. So I used to have lights hanging off these brackets. They've gone, too much salt water in them, so they died. So I went to just a board. It just slides in behind the motor, in between the motor and the live bait tank, and just, the cable runs inside my boat. I don't always keep this here. Obviously when I'm fishing or when I'm at the boat ramp, I just take these straps off. This comes out, goes in the car, and that way you never have to worry about electronics on trailers, because I don't really like replacing boat lights every couple of years. Now, because of the live bait tank, I can't actually tilt the motor up the whole way, so when I'm transporting it, I just put a tire iron in between the bottom bracket of the motor and I guess the actual leg of the motor. Just slides in there, and then you tilt the motor up a little bit, pull this out. Just keeps the skeg and everything out of the concrete and tar. I don't really want to smack that up on the boat ramp, so yeah, that's how I look after it and take the pressure off the piston. You can see for my fill port of my live bait tank, I've got a valve basically, just a PVC valve. Comes down to here to my Rule 260 gallon per hour pump. You don't really need much more than that unless you had tuna tubes. Obviously you'd want a separate one, or a 500 gallon per hour, but this is more than enough. It sits on a bracket with a scoop that sits below the hull line, so even when I'm traveling, I've always got water going straight up into the live bait tank. That's a great little system, except for when you beach the boat and this is smashing around the sand. You get a bit scared that the amount of force that puts on the back of the hull might damage it, but never damaged it yet. This is where I've got my 3-in-1 transducer, just enough out of the way that it stays out of the way of the turbulence in here, between the hull and the step up to the pod, but low enough that I can get a reading at full throttle. I would say without this step here, it would be rooster tailing super bad, because I have it pretty low in the water and I do have it at a very aggressive angle down. Look, to be honest, I haven't played around with it, with leveling it out, like in terms of left and right and what plane it sits on. I just put it pretty low and then tilted it pretty aggressively, as you can sort of see compared to the hull, and I've got a perfect read. If you didn't have this step here, this would be rooster tailing so bad and shooting water up well over the motor, but that's the way I get a perfect read out of the water. And I can read the bottom, sort of can read fish, but I can read the bottom in 50 meters full throttle with this thing, and I never have a problem. So I've just left it like that. I got it right the first time and I went, stuff it, that's good enough. Now on the back here, on the other step, on the left hand side, big hole, I put my belly bucket in here. It just basically sits in here. It's 2 pieces, it clamps from the top to the bottom, and those 2 pieces just bolt together. And yeah, just got a musher stick and pushes out some burley. Honestly, haven't used it much. I definitely should with how much I bait fish. So yeah, just a big hole here now. I was going to put a PVC sort of cap in here just to make it look a bit nicer. Haven't done it. Doesn't really affect me. I don't really jump in and out of the boat very often. I don't go snorkeling very often, so that's probably the only time it would affect you is if you dropped your foot in through here and smashed up your calf or your shin, or maybe even broke it. But I don't do it enough. I don't really stress too much about it. On the top of the pod, as you can just see there, I've got a inspection hatch that just lets me see into the pod. And also, when I take my bungs out, I throw them in here and they just rattle around. Now, for my live bait tank, I do have a tube that comes out from my, this is my emptying tube, and it sits just above the water, so you can barely not even hear it. Before, it like came to here and then just splashed all over the back, and I was like, oh, that's ugly, I'm not going to do that. So just run a bit of tube down to here, and that just dumps straight into the water, and that way, when the boat's sitting in the water, you can barely hear it. You can hear the pump a little bit, but you don't hear this big splash of water coming out of the live bait tank. Just keeps it a bit more silent, especially if you're fishing shallow. You don't have to worry about fish hearing the live bait tank. Anyway, let's move on to the trailer, because as you can see, it is not a stock trailer. It was custom made by the last owner, so I'm just going to run you through that. I don't know the ins and outs of the fabrication work, but I can tell you what I've learned about it, and what I do and don't like about it. So yet again, starting from the front, we'll work our way back. Right at the front, we've got just a pivoting cable brake mechanism on this boat. Look, the cable brakes are alright. If you slam the brakes on and lock the car up, it will work. Apart from that, they don't. Cable brakes are very much just a suggestion of braking up until they're really tightly squeezed, and then they will work. Other than that, you may as well just be braking under your own power. I have adjusted it multiple times, and as soon as you adjust it, it's good for about one trip, and then it's not any good anymore. So unless you slam on your brakes pretty hard, it won't do much. And I have done it once. Someone pulled out in front of me. Just got the generic, just a D-shackle and a bit of cable that locks onto the trailer. That's me where I run my light board to the car. Just run it through the handle. That way it keeps the cable off the ground. Now the jockey wheel is a ARC 500 Extreme Off-Road Series. It allows you to adjust where the actual jockey wheel sits within the bracket, and then it tilts anyway like a normal jockey wheel. It's got your two big non-inflatable, they're just a hard rubber twin tyre, so it's super good. I could push it around on this grass if I wanted to. It is still obviously hard on grass, but on a concrete pad you can turn this around as much as you want to, and if you're sitting with a single wheel in grass or mud or dirt, it would sink a lot more than this would. So it is nice having that bigger platform to support the front of the boat on. Plus my car sits pretty high, so I adjust it up, and then sometimes I move this with a tractor, so then I've got to adjust it down. It's just super cool having this quick adjustment to go up and down. They're about $230, and I would highly recommend it if your jockey wheel is starting to flog out. Now in this box that I've got mounted on the front, just got a hose, a motor flush, there's some bearings and spare trailer parts in here, a towel that I can use to wipe grease or anything away or lie underneath the boat in dirt. I've also usually keep a grease gun in here to grease the bearings up. They've got bearing buddies on them, I'll show you that in a sec. But yeah, it's basically a spare parts tub that I throw all these spare parts for the boat in. It does have a lock mechanism, and I usually throw a lock on it because I don't really want anyone at the boat ramp taking all my stuff out of it. On the front, we've got a 31-inch spare tyre, the same size as the tyres on the back. It's on a custom welded bracket that just goes down to the middle post, I guess you would call it, because this is sort of like a triangle style trailer that then goes to 3 posts that run its way back. I don't know the official terminology of trailers, haven't built one, so that's what I'm saying. You got 1, 2, and 3, and it's on that middle one. But because of that, and there's a lot of weight on the tyre, it does have a bracket welded on to this outside one. You can see it there, and there the tyre would sit on and take majority of the weight. This is just to keep it here more than anything. Now you will notice the trailer is black, it's Raptor coated, and while that's okay, like, it looks alright, but it's starting to rust underneath the Raptor coat. I don't think that steel is actually starting to rust. You can see it here especially. I think it's just rust sitting on the surface, just a bit of surface rust, but because it's sitting underneath the Raptor coat, it's all bubbling off, and it does look kind of ugly. It would have looked absolutely awesome when you first did it. I didn't do it, the previous owner did. But would I do it again on a trailer? Look, probably not. I would just gal dip it and leave it at that. This looks alright, but yeah, as soon as you get just a bit of surface rust underneath, it just bubbles up and starts making it look like homemade and really bad, to be honest. Way worse than it actually would be underneath. If I got a wire wheel and stripped that back, all it would be is surface rust. Now up the front here on my winch post, just keep my winch handle and my jocker wheel handle in there. It's just a good place to keep them. They're never going to bounce out of that. Just throw them in there. I have had one of the winch handles being pinched out of here before. Actually got stitched up at Port Stephens, so I had to wait till someone else brought their boat in and say, hey, can we use your winch? So don't go pinching people's winch handles. That's kind of a stitch up for them. If you have to use it, go use it. You know, walk around the boat ramp, find one, use it, but put it back. Like, it's a $20 winch handle. Don't go stealing that. It's annoying as. Now it's got a 3-speed winch on the front with just your sort of generic neoprene, I guess you would call it, or nylon cable. I've had ones with a webbing before, and it's so annoying because as soon as it sort of sits on the side, it folds over itself. This way you don't have to think about it. You just crank the winch. That's nothing you want to be worrying about when you're launching a boat, especially in a bit of wind and swell. Super annoying. So the cable, just the thin cable, even just like the wire cable, way better idea. Now for my safety chain for the boat, I've just got a bit of chain that goes around these 2 posts. I've got a turnbuckle here, and I've got a big carabiner here that runs for a bit of chain. It's a bit of an odd setup, but if you can see that, I've got a stainless steel S-hook that actually is just clamped on the bottom hole, and all it is it faces backwards. There's nothing stopping anything sliding out, so I had to run it down out the side. It looks a bit weird, but it does work. I have done the winch out, and it sits on this happily. This carabiner in here just allows me to keep this chain on this. It doesn't take any of the weight. The weight's obviously on the hook of the turnbuckle, but this way, if on those longer trips, the turnbuckle's not going to spin because the carabiner will only spin once or twice, and then it'll bind the chain up. It would still keep enough tension that chain wouldn't slide off here. So if worst came to worst, it would still be on the trailer if the cable on the winch failed. Now you might think, why not just have a D-shackle here? And I originally had that, and I'll show you a clip right now of why I have done this. I just had to move the boat onto a bit of an angle so I can demonstrate this to you guys. Sit this here. I don't want to knock the camera, but I still want to get you a good shot of what I'm doing. So all we're going to do is take the safety off. Now, the turn shackle is usually on there super tight, so I actually use this to undo it. There we go. Get the safety chain off. Now that it's just hanging here like that, I just slide it. It's a bit hard. I'm holding the chain with one hand and the camera. All I do is give me a bit of loose chain. I slide it out off the front of that shackle. I usually just sit it there or something. No one pinches it, thankfully. I'd be a little bit nervous towing home if someone pinched it. Anyway, so as you can see, now this chain here is just going to slide up on this hook. It doesn't currently stay because I'm about the angle of what a boat ramp would be. So you can see, it doesn't stay. But what I'm going to do, with my right hand, I hold the chain here. I then will let the winch off, and it will slide far enough back. It'll be about back here, and then it can't slide off the stainless steel hook. I'll get hopefully you can see what I'm doing here. So I'll grab the winch handle. I put it on the highest ratio winch. Put the winch out, and I wind back just a little bit. Obviously, I'm over concrete here, so I've got the straps on the back just loosened so I don't actually slide the boat off here. But as you can imagine, it would slide down at the ramp. I then put this shackle here. As you can see, it will now sit. If I grab the shackle, turn it, it will now sit there just because there's enough weight pulling it back towards where it is. I then would grab the winch handle again, and as I'm doing it out, you can see the boat sliding back onto that chain, and eventually the weight comes off the winch rope. I'll then undo that, usually just throw it there. Now you might think, okay, well that's great, what does it do now? So what I do is I would jump in the boat's in the water enough that I can get the engine down started. I would drive forward, I would hit the winch post here. This chain would then fall, as you saw in the start, when it's all up the winch post, this chain falls down. It then falls down, comes off, I take it out of gear, and I slide back off the trailer. And that's my $10, maybe $20 DIY boat. It's only a boat launch, it's not a boat catch. So you'd have to set up some sort of wire or rope that sort of comes back up, which I've got an idea of how to do if I wanted to upgrade this. But yeah, all it is, stainless steel hook from Bunnings, I don't know, 30 centimeters of 8mm shackle, gal chain, and yeah, a little bit of finicking around and learning how to do it. You wouldn't do it in swell, because if a big wave came and pushed the boat forward, that would push forward, that would come off and your boat would go bye-bye. But yeah, in the lake or in a protected boat ramp, that's more than enough. That's easy. You just drive forward, you feel the boomp, and then the chain falls down. You can actually hear the chain hit this, ka-tink, and then you drive back, and yeah, you launched all solo. One person. Now working our way back on the trailer, the subframe, she's all made out of 50 by 75 box. Now the center beam stops there, it's 75 by 75 box, so it's a pretty strong trailer. Underneath, suspension wise, it's just got a single leaf pack, a slipper leaf. It has a shock absorber here. It's super rusty. I doubt that shock absorber actually works. It is a really smooth riding trailer, so it might do something, but look, I wouldn't say like my trailer's got some really cool off-road suspension. That probably does a little bit of something, but she is pretty rusty. I do wash the trailer every single time, but just being a gal trailer, she does get rusty. Now you will see I do have those guides that guide it into the self-centering rollers that I've got all the way up the front, just to keep the boat, when I'm retrieving it solo, it's just super easy. Having those self-centering guides gets the boat super center, as the name suggests, and they do work. I did try and set this up as a drive-on, but these brackets with a single bracket on these guides just bend. It's super bad. They either bend like this or they twist like this, and you end up between the roller and this guide, and you end up like in this section here, smashing up the hull. I did it once and I went, nope, not doing that again. I could have spent more money and got another bit of steel or put a triangle here. I've seen a couple of people do that. Basically between this post and here, you just put a triangle to stop it twisting and folding. But I went, nah, I'm just gonna winch it. I'm gonna look like an idiot with a big trailer and a big boat winching it all the way from the back, but it's just gonna keep the hull in better condition and the trailer in better condition and not be as stressful. So I did it once, didn't work, and so I've just set it up like this, and these guides still do help me, especially if there's a bit of a cross current or wind or swell. It all helps me line up the boat complete dead center solo, and I just winched it all the way up. Now the wheels for the trailer are not obviously normal wheels. They are 31. They're actually a 265 75/16 on a GXL rim. They're a Capsun. Never heard of the brand. It's just a generic Chinese brand all-terrain tire. Look, I can't fault them. They've been towed all the way up to Fraser Island and back. Done a lot of Ks in them. Done some pretty rough stuff. I do run them at a pretty low pressure, about a 30. Sometimes a little bit lower depending on how much weight I have in it. For the Fraser Island, I think I was at 34-ish on both sides. Had enough bag in it that it stopped the trailer from hitting any potholes or any bumps and smacking the boat around pretty hard, but enough that it held all the weight happily all the way up there. Now underneath these center caps, bearing buddies, I don't have the cap on them because all that does is really just trap salt water in behind the cap. So I just take them off, and I always take these caps off and spray in here. The seals on the back of this bearing buddy aren't the greatest, so it does leak a lot of oil, as you can see at the back of the bearings. So I have to constantly fill them up, probably every second trip, but I don't mind that. Or like 3 pulls of grease, and that's all you need. Now, nice big steel mud guards. Everything looks really nice, except for when you come in close on really rough roads. If you hit a big pothole hard, the boat does bottom out just the slightest bit. It will just tap it on the corner here. Doesn't damage the bottom of the boat. Like, okay, there's a little dent, but it's just on this flared bit of alley here. It's not actually the hull. I don't know if you can be able to see that with the sun there. It's not the hull. It's like this chine basically. So it's not damaging the boat, but it does look ugly. And if you walked around the trailer and saw that, you're like, oh, that's hitting the boat pretty hard. It's not, but it does look pretty average. I've tried to raise up, as you can tell, every single post is pretty high. I've tried to raise it up as high as possible to fix that. Hasn't really helped a whole lot. It has fixed it a tiny bit, I would say. It doesn't hit as often, but definitely, yeah, still hits. So that's one thing I don't really like about this trailer. I reckon if you just cut this like this and put like a 45-degree angle in here, the tire would never hit it. because you still at the height. You're just cutting, basically your tyre is like this. So you just cut that section out and it'll give you way more freedom on the side of your trailer. Got some good mud flaps. If you know this brand, they're pretty funny. See you in the NT. Looks like a different word. Can't complain, just generic mud flaps. Now on the back here for my tie down, I've just got, there's a basically a plate just welded on the bottom of this box section. It's got a hole. I just run a ratchet strap. Now for the bolts that mount the motor, I've got another 90-degree bracket that has a hole in it. Just strap it like that. Same on the other side. That keeps the back of the boat down, but also pushes, if you can see, it's sitting at a slight angle which pushes it forward. So if anything happened at the front to the post, it still pushes it into the post. Your boat would bounce up and down a little bit, but this keeps it, if everything fails up the front there, the safety chain and the winch, these two straps still have to fail, and they're pretty rusty, so they don't actually undo very easily. So I would say I would have full confidence towing with just the back straps. Never going to do it, but if it came to that from an accident, it would be fine. Anyway guys, that's my boat. It's been an absolute ripper of a boat. Anyone who's been following the channel for a bit probably knows what the next episode's going to be. Or if you follow me over my socials, which if you're not, you definitely should. You definitely know what the next episode's going to be and you'll know why I'm doing this. Now, is it an absolute ripper of a boat? Yeah, I've got some absolute awesome adventures out of this thing. I've been to some really crazy places, caught some pretty decent fish out of it. Is it the flagship, top of the line, everything's done? No, it's not. It does have a nice battery system that I've literally only just upgraded, but I had around the 12-volt lead acid battery for I think 8 months until it died basically, and I had to replace it. And I went, well, may as well do lithium. And then I had one lithium battery and I was like, well, may as well do a 24-volt system. But apart from that, it's been an absolute ripper of a boat. And apart from the electric motor and the sounder, I bought everything here for $16,000 off Facebook Marketplace a year ago. So it's been an absolute great offshore budget boat. It's a bit bigger than my previous boat, which was the Quintrex 4-meter. So it's allowed me to get out to some really cool places offshore, spend more time on the water. I definitely couldn't have done the trips that I've done in this boat, in the older boat. So for that reason, I absolutely love this thing. If you've got any questions of anything I've breezed over too quick, or you've seen something in the background of a shot, you're like, I wonder how that works, or wonder if I've been looking at that and I might want to buy it, shoot me a comment, and I'm more than happy. I'll respond as quick as I can. I'll get back to you guys on if you want me to go further in depth on the live bait tank and my setup and the measurements or anything. If you want me to explain anything in further detail, shoot me a message in the comments or on my social media and I'll happily respond. If it's on my social media and you want to see a video of it, I'll even shoot a video, just shoot it to you personally. I'm more than happy to explain why I've done things on this boat, because being on a budget, I've done things for a reason, and not everyone has $100,000 to spend on a boat. You just want to get out there, and I've been out amongst game fishing boats in this thing, and you get an odd look from them and you're like, yep, I'm out here, mate, and I'm in a $16,000 boat. That's probably the price of a couple of your reels. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, a bit different, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.